Welcome to the Jasper Blueprint, a podcast for established business leaders to explore what it takes to build a robust business in a rapidly changing operating environment. The volume and scope of decisions you need to make and the uncertainty and constraints you operate within aren't going anywhere. So this time that we have together here is a window that you can carve out to think, reflect and question so that you and your business can grow. Unexamined beliefs about the purpose of business limit your ability to make money. Let me show you a different way to think about, build and run your business. Because business is not a zero-sum game. Someone doesn't have to lose for you to win. Your choices aren't binary. Money and meaning aren't mutually exclusive. In fact, I'll show you how merging money and meaning is the competitive advantage your business has been missing. Let's jump in and I'll break down the process for you step by step so that you can build a business you're proud of. It is such a pleasure to work with visionary small and medium-sized business leaders to help them increase the income and impact in their business by merging money and meaning. And this week, we are running a 2-part free masterclass. So for those of you who were already with us today, you've already spent a few hours with me. Thank you. If you didn't catch session 1 live, there's still time to catch up on the replay and either join us in session 2 live or grab both as a replay. So if you aren't yet in the masterclass, check out the show notes for details or send me a message directly and I can get in touch with you and send you the replays. If you have been with us and already spent 2 hours with us today in the masterclass, I hope that you will be joining us in the 6-month program where we can go much deeper into really building out the customized filters and decision-making tools for your business that allow you to create that business model that merges money and meaning in ways where you can unapologetically make more money, but also be contributing to the things that you care about in the world in really genuine and meaningful ways. So I do encourage you to jump into the replays, as I said, if you haven't yet joined us. But that 2-day masterclass called Merging Money and Meaning is really focused on reclaiming the reins and restoring order in your business in amongst the uncertain times that we are all operating in. One of the pieces that was really important to me as we designed this masterclass and thought about what it was we were trying to make sure we conveyed and the value that we brought to you just from participating in the free masterclass was that this idea of reclaiming the reins is really important, because the types of leaders that we are working with are people who you are not a startup. This is not your first rodeo. And what has been interesting in the last few years is that the identities that we have as leaders, the things that have become deeply part of how we think about ourselves, how we operate in the world, how we get results, a lot of those foundations have kind of been pulled out from under us. And part of what we're wanting to equip you with through this masterclass and through the work that we're doing with the Jasper Blueprint program that we're kicking off and opening registrations for this week is to help leaders like you reclaim that decisiveness, reclaim the aspects of being able to have clarity, powerfully communicate that to your team in terms of the visionary that you are, where you're taking the company, and to get out of the weeds. Because what we're finding, and let me know through some of the comments or send me a message if this is resonating for you, but what we're finding is that a lot of leaders are in this place of decision fatigue. They are overwhelmed and feel like they're just being pulled down into, as I said, into the weeds, into micromanaging in ways that are frustrating for them and frustrating for their team. I'm not sure if you are in that position, but if you're feeling in any way like you are taking all the risk in your business, but not consistently experiencing the rewards, there's kind of this mismatch, something is out of whack, then jump in to this week's masterclass, either live or via the replays. And firstly, let it be a little bit of a balm for you to be reassured that you are not the only one. There's a lot of very tired and overwhelmed leaders out there. But the beauty of what you will hear as you interact with us and as we get to work with you in a more detailed way through the masterclass and then ultimately through the program is that we're not just adding another thing to your already very crowded list of responsibilities and decisions that you need to make. Instead, based on our decades of experience, we have the ability to be honest with you about what are the areas where you are going to need to dig in and master some specific skills you do need to up-level as a leader. And where are the areas where actually please don't waste your time and money becoming an expert or going into deep mastery here. Just leapfrog, use our decades of experience and the methodologies we've created to allow you to get that advantage, to allow you to jump ahead and, skip a few steps. So if you want that type of insight, join the masterclass, catch the replays, jump into the Facebook group because you're able to there ask questions live, get my brain, Brad's brain, get us to jump in and help you think about how you're operating as a leader and how you're coming at these problems. But we will always be honest with you and we'll be able to tell you where you do need to, as I said, step in and up-level and learn new skills. And we can definitely provide you with those frameworks, tools, strategies, and methodologies. But we're also going to be able to pinpoint and identify for you areas where you can stop doing a lot of the things you're already doing because they are not necessary and not getting results. If we come back to that aspect of the challenge of needing to reclaim the reins, the challenge of wanting to step back into being that decisive leader you once were, part of that is that these last few years have thrown us off our game. And so there's kind of this little bit of a loss of confidence. I don't know that that's the right language for you. That may not resonate. But there's certainly the piece of questioning yourself a bit more because things where you would have had really been very decisive and confident in those decisions, there's now a bit of second guessing because the reality is there has been so much that has been unpredictable and chaotic in the last few years that we're way more aware of all of these variables and how much there is not the certainty, not the stability that we once thought there was. There's a much bigger question around whether we were as in control as we thought we were before anyway, but that's a conversation for another day. For the moment, if we stay in that space of you and I just talking about the fact that the need to have some fresh eyes with people who you can trust that there is a depth of knowledge and expertise and experience over many decades to speak into and identify where you have genuine risk that you need to look at differently in your business model and where you have amazing opportunities that you might be overlooking simply because of the fact that you are now down in the weeds and unable to really get a sense of the broader landscape and do that piece of zooming out to be able to think like a system and then zoom back in to act like an entrepreneur. So come and join us either in one of the masterclasses as a first step if you aren't yet familiar or you haven't yet worked with us in another capacity, or if you have worked with us in the past and now are in a place where you feel ready to jump back in, then coming into our 6-month program around building out and developing your Jasper Blueprint could be the perfect next step for you to have direct access to our brains on your business model, to have our experience helping you identify the low-hanging fruit, spot those opportunities, allow you to see risk much quicker and mitigate it, and ultimately build out this model that I've been talking to you about of a win-win business model. So much of what you are being offered or what you are hearing in the market is from consultants or experts or advisors who have a very limited experience, and they might have deep expertise in their specific area. But in the last few years, what I have noticed a rapid increase in is that small and medium-sized business leaders are spending heaps of money on external experts to come in and do pieces of work that actually, as an organisation, you're not yet ready to do well or to leverage. So you're spending money in areas in the wrong sequence or the wrong order. Sequence is really important. There's a lot of arguments and reasons why building out the foundations of your Jasper Blueprint is really urgent and important to do now. One of them is that you will save so much money by jumping in and doing this 6-month program now and getting in place clarity on those foundational elements, really clear articulations and filters for your decision making as an organisation so that you can get your team on the same page, so that you have a shared understanding, a shared language, that you can move as a leader out of being in that place where you are wearing so many hats and you feel like you're carrying everything from the down in the weeds grassroots stuff of having to make every decision all the way up to the strategy and the long-term visioning for the organisation. When you develop your Jasper Blueprint in the way that we're going to teach you, you will then be positioned to not only make better decisions about who you do engage externally as experts. From the initial early stages of us testing this out already, I have seen people being able to much quicker identify that they don't need to engage certain experts, so saving multiple tens of thousands of dollars and up just in individual interactions that they would have otherwise taken on with a consultant. And as this plays out over time, you know, the Jasper Blueprint is a new collection. It's methodology we've built up over decades, but it's a new framework in terms of pulling it all into one place. As this plays out over the next few years, the money that small and medium businesses are going to save by having this clarity in place is just going to be epic. If you do this work now, two of the main things that are going to happen for you are, one, you will engage far less external help on areas, particularly in the short term, in this next sort of 12 to 24 months, because a whole bunch of pieces are now going to fall into place and you will have visibility and a mapped out plan of, okay, where to next? What do we do? How are we making these decisions collectively? So this short term next season or chapter, depending how you think about it, you will need far less engagement with external players because you're going to have enough clarity and have equipped your team to operate. Then as you get those pieces in place and that's humming in your organisation, when you're ready for the next stage of development, you will now interact with consultants and advisors and other experts in a completely different way. And a whole bunch of the preliminary work that they would otherwise spend months and months and charge you a fortune to do, you already have in place. And you're going to be able to very confidently push back and say, no, we know who we are as an organisation, how we behave, what we care about, what is most important to us. We know where we're headed and what we're trying to contribute to in the world. Here's how that plays out. We understand our business model and the levers to pull. We're telling you, here's our gap and this is where we need some particular help. Can you help us and what would that cost? You will be a more educated and informed buyer for external help, and you will have a much tighter scope of work that you're asking for. So there will be massive savings. That's the first piece. This work is really critical and is in no way a distraction or something to put off. From a sequence perspective, this should be happening now. You need to do this work and have clarity here immediately. The second piece I want to point out to you is that when I think about why this is urgent and why joining us and building out your Jasper Blueprint needs to happen now. It's that when I think about the speed that we're now seeing different changes occur in the market, again, a lot of people in the last 18 months that I've spoken to have wanted to understand and get their head around how to position themselves better, how to understand the components of preparing their organisation for these changes that are coming. But they've still stayed in a category where they've said, we're going to do that when things settle down. At the moment, we're swamped. We're just trying to keep our head above water. So it's been put off for a future date. The second reason that I want to give you for why this is important for you to do the fundamentals now is that the sooner you engage in this work and have clarity here and break the cycle of you being trapped down, micromanaging and making every decision in the organisation because there's a lack of clarity and an ineffective communication of where the business is actually going, the sooner you do that, the freer you will be and the less rushed you will be as an organisation to have to get to a place where you have your business model humming and where you're able to mitigate risk effectively, tap into opportunities in an efficient, streamlined way, and be creating that business model that has this self-reinforcing aspect to it, where as you contribute more to the world and there's more meaning in the areas that you care about, it is generating more money in the business. So we're getting that piece I said at the beginning of your increasing income and impact, or you're merging money and meaning. When we think about the changes that are going to have to occur in our organizations, I want you to be able to explore those options, test, pilot, prototype things at a small scale that's not massively risky, that doesn't cost a fortune or put at risk big areas of the business. I want you to be able to do the thinking, test things out, use some of our methodology to play and prototype to see what is possible and what might work for your business. And if you join us now and if you go on this journey now, you're going to have time to do that work, to start small, to play, to prototype, to pilot. The longer you put this off, if you wait another 12 months, if you wait another 18 months, you're shortening the runway between the point at which there is absolute, it's essential, and there are demands at such a level from external players in terms of customers or regulatory and compliance issues, or there are demands from your employees that now have to be addressed immediately, have no runway or time to explore or experiment. And so you're having to then make massive changes with no wiggle room to test and learn as you go, or to put a toe in the water, see what happens, and then refine as you go. So that's the second piece around why this is urgent now, why I would love for you to jump into the masterclass, watch the replays, and then have a conversation with us to see if this is the right fit for you. Because I don't want you to be in a position where you are under even more stress and pressure that could have been avoided if you just started the work earlier. So I've talked about some of those challenges of leaders everywhere to see whether they resonated with you, of whether you're really struggling to get on the same page with your team, whether you're feeling trapped and like you're wearing too many hats, you're down in that micromanaging space that you don't want to operate from. There's a disconnect in terms of your own identity of who you have previously seen yourself as a leader, what you're capable of. And there's kind of this awkwardness with where you're at the moment, that nothing is kind of in flow. You're not able to bring your brilliance or be showing up in your own genius. If that is the case for you, I want to encourage you that you're not alone, and also encourage you that we can break that cycle. You don't have to try to figure this out on your own. In fact, please don't, because adding more pressure to yourself when you're already feeling overwhelmed and exhausted and the decision fatigue is actually going to exacerbate things and just make it worse. The reality is that all of these aspects, the longer you stay in it, it's kind of this snowball effect. You being too busy or stuck in that space of decision fatigue is actually not just difficult and creating suffering and stress for you. It means that your team are suffering. The growth of your organization is suffering. Your results are suffering because there's this cap being put on everything, both in terms of the energy, the momentum and motivation is just not present because all of that is influenced from the top and from you. And so you are not bringing that to the organization. You also, by staying in that space of being tired and in decision fatigue and trying to figure this out yourself, you are capping what's even possible, because there's only so many hours in the day that you can be putting your attention on making these decisions, taking in new information, figuring out all the moving pieces, having conversations with key people for them to be able to bring you up to speed. You will be the bottleneck, and that is not good for anyone. And so I really encourage you, if you're having that pushback where part of you is saying, I feel like I can do this, like I don't need help in this area, I can figure it out, I want to say to you, maybe you can, but at what cost? In terms of time, in terms of money, in terms of missed opportunities, in terms of the damage that you're going to do to yourself, your team, and your organization in the process. Is it worth it? Because I know from doing this work for many decades that if each of us operates in our lane, in our zone of genius, and then taps into other people in their zones of genius, oh my goodness. It's just more exciting. We have more fun in our work. But we also suddenly create that beautiful synergy of, it's not just you and me, 2 equals, 1 + 1 = 2. We unlock massively more than the sum of our parts, right? So the synergy piece taps in if we're all operating in our genius. And I know for a fact that if you put yourself in a position where you talk us through your business model, where we get to ask you some really specific questions and give you some frameworks and methodologies around how to think about different components of the foundational elements you need in your business, we will be able to draw out clarity for you much quicker than you can do it by yourself. Not because we're smarter than you, but because we have fresh eyes, because we're coming in looking at your business with the benefit of being able to see patterns. When we're thinking of hundreds of other small and medium-sized businesses that we've worked with where we've seen different patterns, we will spot something quicker simply because this is what we do. We will also, therefore, be able to give you feedback. That is so valuable. The amount of times I sit with a leader and I get them to run me through like, okay, well, what's your next move going to be? How are you going to approach this problem? And they can run me through, here's what we're thinking. And simply as a sounding board, as that thinking partner is what I like to call it, I can speak into the challenges that you might face or anticipate what you might need to prepare for or how you might want to think about it from a different perspective. I want to give you those advantages. I want to help you break the cycle, get out of that feeling where business has become all risk and no reward, and get you back into a place where you feel like you're in flow, where you're bringing your best, where you're operating from your genius and able to make big decisions quickly and with confidence that they're in alignment with what matters most to you, where you're able to streamline your decision making, where you're able to really just get back to that place where all of those components of your business are working. But I'm going to take that up a notch and say not only get back to, but get to a new level that you probably didn't even think was possible, of when you have these aha moments, when you start to look at your business in the way that we are going to train you to look at it, what is possible for you just in the everyday operations, in the running of your business, is going to blow your mind. Because we have, in taking on unconscious beliefs from the society around us about what the purpose of business is. And by taking on external ideas of what success is, what growth looks like, what it means to have a profitable business, we have actually robbed ourselves of the power of both making money and making meaning. And the gift I want to give to you is to actually show you that that's not a far off dream. That's not possible. It's actually really possible and very doable with the right help. So I would love you to, as I said at the beginning, shoot me a message or check out the show notes. Join us either live or with the replays for the 2-day free masterclass. And then let's get on a call and talk about your business and the Jasper Blueprint program, the 6-month program, because what we have done and our intention in terms of spending the time over the last 2 years to develop up a program that we could offer as an online group program so that far more small and medium business leaders could be having access to this kind of support, all comes from a place of us realizing that there are too many pressures and demands on us as leaders. And if this type of support stays being massively time consuming, hugely expensive, and really complicated, we don't have the headspace to do it. I don't. You don't. I'm not going to expect that of you. So we have boiled down work that if you had come to us 2 years ago and wanted to do this one-on-one, depending on the size of your organization, it would have cost you anywhere from $90,000 to $250,000 for us to do this with you one-on-one. And it has been no small task for us to really work the methodology and keep boiling it down to a place where we knew we had the foundational elements in place and could equip you to use those and develop this for yourselves in your business in a customized way, but at a price point and a time frame and a complexity that actually is helpful, not a hindrance to your growth. So the 6-month program is only $10,000. As I said, it's going to save you so much money just by the way it will free you up from not needing other external consultants and advisors, and how much of the work, pre-work, it will have you already having in place to be able to then be better positioned as you do engage any external providers that you want to work with on specific areas. So get in touch with us. We would love to talk to you. And please remember that it is not weakness. It is not showing a lack of intelligence to realize that you need help on foundational elements in your business. The most strategic thing you can do is to see this opportunity, to know that timing is actually important, and that if you continue to wait, you're putting yourself and your business at risk, and to act now. So let's chat. Happy to answer any questions that you have, and I hope to see you in the masterclass and also in the next round of the program. Hope that's been helpful. Shoot me through any questions that you have, and let's talk.